Okay, everybody. I think it's time we start. Again, thanks everyone for attending. And what are we talking about? We're talking about what should today's company have in terms of tech. And there will be two presenters. Dmitry dodged the bullet. I'll do the first half. Denis will do the second. And so, you know me, Denis is CEO of AdeptCloud, who's been our partner for cloud services and automation for several years now. Denis is right there. And so I'll talk about essential tech, bring up some facts, talk about what's important, and Denis will concentrate on automation itself. So let's talk about what it was like 3 years ago. Why I picked 3 years ago is because next month on November 30th will be the 3-year birthday of ChatGPT. That's when it came out publicly available for everybody to use, and things started changing. The platform that it uses, OpenAI, allowed to create numerous amount of different tools, and so landscape started changing at that point. But before that, the main reason companies used IT technology is for basically two things: is to make security and to reduce cost through operational efficiency, and therefore for increasing profit. What does it look like today? Today, 95% of companies in the US use generative AI, which is ChatGPT, Copilot, so forth, whatever creates content. About half of US companies implemented AI agents of some type. AI agents that can automate tasks around scheduling, email, report generation, so forth. And about 60% of firms, larger firms, actually started replacing labor in the last 12 months. So all these numbers indicate that AI is everywhere, and automation is now a thing employed in all the companies. Some of you may have seen this slide before from my previous presentation 6 months ago, but I wanted to bring it up again because it's an important path. It explains path of a successful company of implementing the technology. So Microsoft released a 2025 report in the beginning of this year, where they surveyed 31,000 workers across 31 countries, and they identified over 800 frontier firms. Frontier firm was defined by an organization that uses AI company-wide, and that either uses AI agents or projects to use AI agents in near future. So they analyzed those, and they said there's 3 phases a frontier firm goes through. Phase 1, using generative AI. So employees in the company, not just owner, but employees, staff, uses Copilot, ChatGPT. Phase 2, AI agents are used. This is what we talked about, where 50% of companies use AI agents now, about automating scheduling, email management, and so forth. And the phase 3 is where either AI agents connected together to automate the process, or some type of automation happens on a different platform to automate the process. And when they came up with this report, they said the phase 3 reality is going to be in 24 months, which at this point leaves us 18 months. And we're talking automation of purchasing process, quoting process, entire process. So what you guys need to do is look at this process and understand which phase are you in. because the frontier firms, the companies you compete with that are successful, will be doing phase 3 in 18 months. That's another good table to visualize what's happening. This is a projection of level of automation for different industries, specifically small to medium-sized businesses by industry. So you can see how, for example, technical, which is MSPs like us, IT companies, software developers, they're already automated 40%, and they will be automated 80% in 5 years from now. You can look at manufacturing, where manufacturers basically are tasked of automating 3 times of what they're automating now in 5 years, and so forth. Financial, healthcare, construction, and education are really in bad shape. They practically have no automation at this point, but will need to put it in place soon, because this is what the successful competition will be doing. So this is what we need to plan to do as well. This is we at SafePoint, for example, have a full-time employee now who does internal automation just to stay competitive with our competitors. So where does it put us in terms of must-haves for our companies? Automation is the differentiator. Why automate? Because before it was about profits, increasing profit margins. Now it's about survival. If you're not doing your process efficiently, you're behind your competition, you're not going to be profitable. What can you automate? There's really 3 areas that you should concentrate on, which is the beginner style is AI assistance. Train your team to use the tools that you already have access to, which is ChatGPT and Copilot and others we can provide if needed. Workflow automation. There are platforms like Power Automate and Microsoft, Zapier, Make, and so forth that allow connection to your existing applications using APIs, and therefore automating workflows. And dashboards is this 3rd area. In other words, reports that you can, where you can pull data from different applications into a single screen of KPIs and reports that will allow you forecast and check your performance trends. And finally, I just want to mention that there is a common fear that we're trying to replace people. In reality, we're in business of extending their capability. We're in business of killing the repetitive work so they can concentrate, so your staff can concentrate on the important stuff, on the strategy, on sales, on customer service, on talking to people, on creating relationships, instead of doing repetitive tasks and the busy work. So automation is not the only important thing to have. We need to mention core infrastructure. There's really 4 major areas that you should think of. Cloud-first mindset. There was a time when everybody had a server, and it made sense. It's no longer the case. Consider moving your data and the applications to the cloud, whatever it is, SaaS application or Microsoft 365, SharePoint or Amazon AWS, but all those platforms have, they're continuously updated. And so by moving your data and applications into the cloud, you're making it future-proof, because they will evolve. They're evolving constantly. If you have an environment that's internal, that's local on the server, it's very easy to very hard to be up to date. The cloud also has better security now. They're continuously updating it. They have APIs that you can connect to other things. And so you're future-proofing yourself by going cloud. Unless there is some specific needs that has to do with fast computing or where data warehousing, which for small business is usually not the case. Another area that every company must address is securing identity and access. Every company must have multi-factor authentication at all available accesses, whatever it is, email, bank, password management tool, must have. Conditional access depends, but it's very preferred. Endpoint management, you gotta have either RMM or MDM or both. Patch automation, encryption for financial and healthcare industries for sure. And finally, business continuity. Every company needs to have a plan. What happens if there is a disaster? Everything goes down. Who to go to? There needs to be a document. Besides just the backups, there has to be a document. So your team knows what to do. It should be if then, because there is questions. Who do I report it to? Do I take it to supervisor? Do I take it to the owner? There's also things that, like, when to report it to IT. Is this really a disaster or not? There should be a communication plan for internal team, internal staff to announce them what's happening. There should be a plan to what to communicate to the clients. Because every minute of downtime is important. It becomes a chaos. Nobody knows what to do. There should be assigned roles and tasks for every situation. And security is still an important thing. So it's expected of every company now to have some type of AI-powered antivirus and some type of MDF. We use SentinelOne for the antivirus, for example. We use Huntress for this tool, but this is necessary now with the threats like ransomware. Tools like this MDF does automatically detect threat and isolate the workstation or a mailbox that's affected, catching it at birth, basically. I mean, all of our clients have all of those things in place, but this is an important. User awareness and phishing simulations. So this is a software that also a must. For those who are not aware what it is, it's a software that sends training phishing emails to people where they click or not, and then it gets reported to the management to show how educated they are in the subject. But it also sends monthly videos with tests, because the problem is human error is still there, and no matter how many antiviruses or email filters we implement, there's still going to be that email that comes through and somebody will click on. And they need to know better than clicking on that email. So this function must be implemented for every company. It's not cost prohibitive. And finally, choose a framework to be compliant with. If you're in HIPAA, if you're in healthcare, it's HIPAA. If your clients are in Europe, it's GDPR. If you're in financial sector, consider FTC safeguards rule. If you're in manufacturer, the ISO 2701. And if you're a technology field, consider NIST or SOC 2. But when you have a framework in place, you have a clear plan and guides on what needs to be in place. And I think that's it on my part. Denis?
How's it going, everybody? So I'm going to talk about more automation side and things like that. So working with Infiniwest for many years now, and we've run into a lot of problems with some customers always using Excel sheets for everything. That's a very usual case. Peter knows very well. So if you've ever experienced one person being responsible for an Excel sheet, right? Or that person's on vacation, and then somebody logs in, takes a look, you have an Excel sheet labeled final report version 7 last. I have like 20 of those on my computer that we've been processing over. So something that generally does go through a lot. Compliance, people storing passwords, social security numbers. If you think about it, we found it in an Excel sheet at some point in our life. It happens very often. I wish I didn't tell you we found it every week, but we pretty much do. And it's very common. All these things do delay decisions at the end of the day. That's where it really matters. Everyone's either waiting for something, somebody has to update something, or somebody has to go and find something. This happens way too often. So if you're an organization, especially where Excel sheets are kind of like your system, that's something to just consider. I'll take you kind of through a couple of steps that we normally take, taking a system like that and actually making it more automated, something that's more user-friendly and people can use on a day-to-day basis without waiting. So that'll be my next slide. Multiple sources of what's called data integration. So connecting systems, your customer service, accounting, phones, file systems. If you ever use a CRM, how many phone calls are your salespeople making to your sales leads? How many support calls are you receiving if you have to answer support questions every day? All these numbers do kind of matter at the end of the day, especially with air conditioning. Great. Cool. I'll talk a little bit louder. I'll try. That's something us, with our IT stuff, we always have to know, right? How many support calls we're getting? How many tickets? Are we staffed? Do we have enough staff sitting there to answer these phone calls, right? Customers aren't going to be happy if they got to wait 30 minutes for somebody to pick up the phone call. Unless we're Amazon, then that's a little bit different. Definitions. That's another big thing. If you've ever worked in an organization where one person refers to one metric or one field as one name, that's a very common one. We just recently worked with a client who their definitions, what salespeople use versus what the customer service team used versus what we were using was very different. And it made planning projects very, very difficult. So make sure that's always defined. That makes it a lot easier if you want to ever do a dashboard, some reliability, alerting, things like that. You want to know where this number always comes from, right? So if it's your revenue numbers, or if it's your calls per week, or if it's your any other kind of metric that you're supposed to be tracking, you want to make sure it's properly defined. You want to make sure it's traceable back to the source, be it a CRM system, be it a phone system, be it what other good systems do we have out there? Just finance systems, just not Excel. Anything but that. People having to manually export all of the same data from the same systems, right, that you guys already have in place just to provide a report. That a lot of time we see that happen all the time. We have a client who was paying employee commissions out of 3 different systems into an Excel sheet and formatting this. There we go. So little things like that, right? We have one client also as well. The commissions, that was an 8-day process for them to pay their employees. So somebody physically had to sit there for 8 days, 8 hours a day, and process commission payments or for one of their staff members, So little things like that, it's a lot of time saved. We were able to take all of their data, import it into a little dashboard that honestly represented the same Excel sheet that person used every day. And all they have to do is just review it and press approve. So that's where kind of like the whole next dashboard part of this comes through. So dashboards aren't necessarily a commission payment system. They could be CEO numbers every morning, right? Some people like to get alerted. Some people like to log in and just review everything. But we're working on a client right now where they want metrics for their operations teams. right? They want to be able to log in, be able to click on buttons and view what's happening with the company overall, how can they improve, and make business decisions on the fly. So we spend a lot of times, actually, I'd say out of all of our automation, is working on dashboards and presenting data in a proper format for where people can make the right decisions the way they want it to. Be it a pretty graph. It's crazy, I know, right? But most people just want to look at something really pretty. They don't care necessarily on what's always behind it, but as long as it's visually appeasing to their eyes, they're going to spend more time looking at it. Kind of the reason why we got rid of paper. So, leadership fast, yeah, so like service levels, backlog. If you're dealing with customer requests, can you go back right now and say, I have this many clients still waiting for me and they haven't received a response in the last month? We can, but we definitely want to make sure that our clients can as well. Financing, right? Ever have found an invoice that somebody didn't pay last year? That's always fun. So having a dashboard that can alert you on that kind of stuff is even better. And all of this, we built it out with alerting. And yeah, see exactly how it says, plain language data glossary. You want to be able to easily describe your metrics. You don't ever want to just have some long name that only a couple people in the company know. Everybody needs to be aware of all of this stuff. At the end of the day, at least, hopefully, right? You get less meetings, faster phone calls, and some proof of what's actually measured, user activity, things like that. There we go. The other part of this is customer and employee portals, right? Depending on your business, right? You might have clients who need to log in, view things, upload documents, submit data to you guys. That's that. But then also the employees, they might need to be able to act on this, right? Could be responding to things. Think of Salesforce as a CRM. Salespeople generally want to log in there. They want to track their metrics. They want to be able to track how many phone calls they did this week, how many quotes they have out there, right? Helps them keep track of their commission and seeing what they can do better. So this applies both to the employee side and it applies also to the customer side. Customers want to know if they submitted to us at least a ticket last year and it's still open. Why is it still open? So we always want to make sure we kind of deal with all these things. But it's also just a part of kind of how we all expect, I believe, nowadays when we work with any kind of vendor, right? You open up a ticket somewhere, generally you can follow up on the status on it, or if you're calling any one of the vendors you deal with on a day-to-day basis, you generally want to be able to know that when you call back, they know what you're doing and that this kind of is going to be taken care of. And then part of this is, right, is you also then are standardized, because if the portal calls the metric, this is revenue, that's revenue, and nobody else is going to call it anything else on different reports. I'm always going to bring up that example. We just spent weeks on this kind of issue. Me and Dimitri worked on it with a client for a very long time, and then we realized that the whole issue was that the naming was not proper between departments. So it's something that does happen a lot, and something we just learned from the course of business. Let's see, and obviously all this stuff can be integrated, single sign-on, Microsoft 365 accounts. It's not another username or password for you guys to necessarily remember. If you use 365, it can be easily integrated with your existing credentials, Azure AD and things like that. So it's kind of important. The other part of all, stop falling asleep. Give it a second. All right, apologies for that. The other thing is full audit logging. You do kind of want to have a track record, right? Where did this data come from? Where did it change? And where is it going? So one of the things we're working on now is working on better predictability of data. So specifically, we got a client, they receive studies, and we want to track if next month is going to be better or worse, right? For them, that's going to affect their scheduling and their revenue numbers and projections. So we're working with a lot of more advanced AI systems now on projecting this data. Yeah, probably just close it. So a couple of things on here. What time is it actually? Am I doing good on time, Alek? Am I doing good on time, or am I going too fast? Making sure I'm not extending the visit here. So So closing the loop. Big thing is, right, we want to automate all this. So think of Excel, right? Clients have to export this stuff from different systems, then do VLOOKUPs and formulas and all of that fun jazz. We want to avoid that out entirely. This should be an automated process, be something either that runs in the middle of the night so it's ready for the morning, or if it's something that you need reporting on throughout the day, right? Then things need to be imported on a day-to-day basis. The benefit of building things out this way is when you need to add new metrics, if you need to add a different system, you acquired a new company and you're going to have to integrate their systems. It's very simple to just kind of put them in line with your integrations already that exist, then giving it to somebody to figure out, all right, here's the data, figure out how we can multiply this by this to figure out what else we need. Parts of these, there's actually a lot of really cool tools out there for, the more do-it-yourself situations now. N8N and Make.com. A lot of people are automating it. We have clients who automated emails, right? They go to a trade show, client signs up, and they just get an email a couple weeks later saying thanks for visiting, right? Little stuff like that. If you have employees sitting there spending hours a day writing these kind of emails, that's time saved on them making sales phone calls. And heck, we can even probably automate those at some point here soon. I guess a little bit better voice, but so we do a lot of interesting things like that. Or if you have dissimilar systems. One client, we're working on integrating a payroll system with a proprietary vendor that handles a very specific workflow for them. And when you need to integrate stuff like that, there's no built-out integrations. That's something we can help out with. That's something we're actually kind of tackling and pretty much just finished up right now. Let's see here. Is that it? All right, I think we're back to Alek. Yeah.
Couple things to point out. Don't forget about us. Plan technology, strategy, involve, retreat, CIO, and we have an entire team of developers now who work on workflow automations. So keep us in mind for that as well. Other than that, we'll send you a copy of this. You can contact any of us on this list about any questions. And we actually have an interesting thing today. Let's put together like ad hoc at the end, but Anthem volunteered to show demo a robot from manufacturing. This is a delivery robot, which is in this one right here. That you guys are reseller of Fudu robot. Fudu.
It's kind of Fudu is manufacturer of mobile robots, and probably everybody would probably see robots at airports, just cleaning. So essentially, we brought just due to limited space, and it can follow. So technology is becoming amazing. So robots can clean floors, and it's smart. So they're not just cleaning everything; they clean where it's dirty. There are delivery robots that there's different options that can bring and pick up, and they work as a team. So you're not just they can know location. You can have 2, 5, 10 robots deployed and just we brought it to show technology entering everyday life. So you're not just not saying you're going to see those robots in restaurants, in shops, and it's all kind of tied together. So just robots are common. And whatever aspect is not automated, so just if you think, oh, I'm working in an office, just kind of like where I can use robot. For example, we operate 72,000 square foot facility, and we have cleaning contracts. Sweeper, and just cleaning a robot, just doing the work, just on the daily basis. So just it's kind of like this is huge saving. Just you want to have clean environment, and this is just one of the things for healthcare. You can program program robots, and there are different shelves that can come to patient and deliver and open up medication. So disperse medication with video cameras. So all I'm saying is that robots are coming in a way that they don't expect, but they come and they're going to carry, they already here. And they're becoming cheaper every day. This is cheaper and simpler every day. So you don't have to program robot. Just what changed in 3 years. Just on IT. I'm coming from manufacturing side. Essentially, nowadays you can. Well, it's not that yet. Just you cannot tell to the robot. Just go and do it. But it's kind of you don't have to write the code. Or you don't have to know how to write the code to program the robot. So it's not to this point. So next point, it's agent. Same what happening with IT, just with automation, just same happening on manufacturing, same happening with delivery, same happening with healthcare or not, because those machines able to kind of collect the data, just go from room to room, open the doors, just do cleaning and everything. So this is what happened. And if we brought a limited space, we couldn't do, but if you want to play kind of follow me, just this robot can follow you, just mark the hand.
It can lift up to 300
kilos. So, yeah. Alex, just our CIO, just he knows a lot more, just about capabilities of those devices. But guys, just you can scan, and there are a lot of different things and applications that robots are kind of entering our everyday life. And Kudu, it's Chinese brand, but it's one of the leading Chinese. You can go to Kudu Robotics, just to show they have humanoids, dogs, just delivery robots, cleaning robots at airports, and price point, just it's basically robots. Return on investment, it's literally months.
Where do you see them first coming into homes? I mean, you've got to see that.
To the home, just the consumer, just you already have rooms, just room cleaning, because next is kind of humanoid where robots will be able to do laundry or not. I don't see it happening within the next couple of years. But as far as work, just cleaning, delivery robot, inventory, security, where more robots kind of work, well, traveling around and collecting all data in tied to one system to do IT and everything. This is happening now. So what they said, 18 months, yes, it's all going to be integrated. Companies, the technology are here, it just need to change mental. Technology already here.
People still find new use cases for these. A store that wanted these food delivery, and then they realized because it has 7 cameras and you can look at them, they can use it for inventory. As it drives by, they can just
Scan the shelves.
scan pictures of the shelves now on right, so just one more program and then you don't need inventory. So this space is still coming out in terms of work.
So really, it's replacing employees in those situations.
Or functions, yeah.
Making it, I would consider it, I would not say people say employees replacing employees. No, the problem is, the way I kind of look at things, it's not replacing employees in America. The problems that we have here in the United States with our production is manufactured for anything, our labor force is too high. So, just essentially, robots will be competing with Chinese robots, not with American people. Because right now we cannot produce, there is plenty of work. I get just from customers or just companies. I want to produce, but it needs to be produced at this price. And just a lot of manufacturers say, "Oh, we cannot produce it at this." Just this is equalized. So this is the only way to kind of start manufacturing things back in the United States and get more efficient.
I like one number that we brought out before. Anthem has a manufacturing line that produces the same amount of output in that would normally take 7 people making a month. It produces automated with 2 people in 1 week.
Well, it's not normal. So it's kind of historical data. So we have small manufacturing facility, and we manufacture sort of medical products. And amount of work that was kind of same amount of product was to take labor of 8 people. We used outside vendors, delivery, whatnot, with optimization and with implementation of robotic and automation. And it's not 100% automated yet. It's kind of same amount of work that 7 people were able to produce in a month. Right now, 2.5 people can produce in 1 work.
Yeah, and subject to your point about replacing people, we have welder. A person doing welding manually, we replace him with welding robots. He still needs to train them, and now he's working with you, and it's not manual. So he just does more.
But you could have one person, so you have, for instance, in one places you have 6 stores. So you could have one person that would oversee, instead of having a person in each of those 6 stores.
Yeah.
You're really going to make money if you figure out how to make that part of healthcare. Because that's where the need is in the future.
Oh.
And that's where.
That's what they come up with. That would be a literal next. I mean, just AI, just brain already is there. So, just delivery and safety, it's already there. So, just it's a little bit tactical.
It's tactical.
Yeah, so, just it's biggest challenge in robotics. It's not brain right now. It's kind of human skill or, just human hand. This is the most difficult thing
Yeah, your limbs they try to create too. But I mean, that's where the big thing, I mean, healthcare is going to, and you put it up high on the list, as healthcare is one of the fields that's going to be hit by AI the hardest, because it is. A lot of things.
Just you can plan, you can scan and just we are official representative of Dubai and just Pudu and Pudu is in mobile, so you can look, and those are really affordable. Just so if you operate a healthcare facility, just even office, what I said, talked about, just our internal savings on cleaning in our internal facility, we cut our custodian fees in half. Just without sacrificing things.
Play off the robot.
It's kind of so. It really depends how much just our cost and distributed. But usually cleaning robot runs under $20,000. So just essentially just if you have 72,000, well, just store or whatnot, and you have one person, let's say that need to clean 3 hours a day. Well, $25 an hour, just let's put it with all expenses and everything. So $75 a day. How many days do you want to clean every day? $75 a day times 30. What is it? 2,200 approximately give it a pay. So just in 10 months, this robot will be paid off. Just and after that you do this work. Just you have clean facility 24/7. Not only 3 hours when just and robot works 24/7. So it's
so mopping floors will become the job of IT.
Pretty much, just because this is exactly what it is. Because all you have to do monitor, just mopping. You have to map the area and kind of roll it out.
You have to look at every employee as not just yourself. You have benefits in every employee that you pay. You have insurance for every employee in one ratio for one. Especially if you've got people doing cleaning, you've got workman's comp insurance and all that kind of stuff. So you're actually paying up quicker.
Much quicker. I mean, just I gave worst case scenario, and when we're talking about like healthcare, this bot that can go from room to room, just dispense, just it opens up, just there are devices that right now given to patients in healthcare facilities that kind of just checking their pulse and everything. So reducing nurses, right? Just this delivery, just it can deliver medication on time, make sure, just it's documented, it can take video, just and just that proper medication that taken by patients, it consent alert. Again, it's a lot of things that was kind of like, oh, it's nursing. No, it's IT department right now.
That's what's going to go stronger.
So automation is not just in software; it's also physical work.
Yeah, this is the easiest use case for cleaning.
I thought it would be interesting to connect it to the same discussion here. But anyway, our presentation is over. We have this room for another hour, and we do have a wrap up. Yes.
So everybody, couple announcements. There's some little Q&A cards on the table, so if you guys wouldn't mind filling those out, just so we can get good feedback for the next event. And then if you guys all want to pull out your raffle tickets, we will. He doesn't have.
Teacher told me not.
Alex, who does your tax return?
So I don't know. 37062006.
006.
Really?
Are you serious?
Get your prize.
What? Oh my God.